Hello, you nice people. Thanks for showing up today. Hey, before we dive in today, I just want to remind you that my new webinar series, Friends in High Places, is beginning on September 29th. We're going to look at channeling, mediumship, psychic communication, connecting with our loved ones on the other side, and really empowering ourselves to get direct guidance from spirit. So that's going to be a fabulous program starting in about 2 weeks. And then in December, I'm doing my program with dear musician Karen Drucker, who's just a delight. And we're going to have a fabulous 4 days in California, exploring A Course in Miracles, healing, relationships, and everything that's important to us. So both of those items are on my website, alancohen.com. Well, we all have difficult people in our lives. Let's be honest, that there's some people we don't like, some people we don't get along with, and some people, frankly, we wish weren't in our lives. And so how to deal with that? So today I'm going to give you some tips on harmonizing or upgrading or even leaving relationships that are painful to us. The first step is to reframe the relationship and the person. We might consider them a challenge, a nuisance, a hindrance, an obstacle. But an old Chinese philosopher said, what's in the way is the way, which means that where you have your greatest challenge, your greatest pain, that is a doorway to higher consciousness. So quit seeing this person as the devil or a problem and reframe them as an opportunity. This is an amazing invitation to spiritual growth. If you can handle this relationship, and you might want to even think about who in your life bugs you now, a relative, a spouse, a teacher, a boss. Think about who gets your goat the most and ask yourself, wow, is it possible that if I looked at this person and relationship another way, I could find the healing and the relief I seek? Course in Miracles says that it asks us, would you rather be right or happy? So you can be right about why this person is so wrong, or you can be happy and letting them be who they are, and taking back the power you've ascribed to them to affect your life. There's a story about a man in ancient Greece who paid somebody a lot of money every day to walk around and insult him, so he would get strong in the face of criticism or adversity. And then you might remember the Pink Panther series with Peter Sellers, where Inspector Clouseau had this assistant, and his name was Kato, I believe. And Kato was like a karate guy, and Kato would, the inspector would come home, and then Kato would jump out of the closet or the bathroom and challenge him. And Clouseau would have to be on his toes to defend himself. And at first you think that Kato was trying to hurt him, but he was really hired by Clouseau to keep him on his toes. So what if the people who bug you the most were people who you hired? I know it sounds weird, but you psychically hired them to show up and bring you challenges that would help you grow spiritually. Now, you've also heard me talk about soul contracts. And the soul contract is an agreement you make with somebody at the soul level, often before birth, in which they would show up in your life and support you. And sometimes they support you by loving you, empowering you, and agreeing with you and thanking you. And sometimes they support you by getting in your face and forcing you to dig in to find a spiritual muscle and exercise it that you wouldn't have found if things were easier. So can we reframe our quote enemies or challenges or adversaries as helpers, as angels in a way, to help us grow? I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said, and I think Barack Obama requoted him, "I do not like that man. Let me get to know him." What they were saying was that if somebody gets you, really, really bugs you, there's an invitation there, there's an opportunity there Someone once said, her name was Sally Kempton, she said, it's impossible to defeat an enemy who has an outpost in your head. And what this means is that when somebody attacks you or criticizes you, if they can get to you, there must be something in you that agrees with them. Otherwise, you'd say, well, you're nuts. I don't get it. Like, let's say you were wearing a nice white blouse, and I came up to you and I said, wow, that's a really ugly orange blouse you're wearing. And you would look down and say, well, I don't know who you're looking at because I have a nice white blouse on. And if you know that the blouse is white and it's nice, and you're established in that sense of conviction and confidence, then if somebody comes at you with a faulty perception or criticism, it's their problem, not yours. And Buddha said there are two pieces to a transaction of a gift. Somebody has to give the gift, but somebody has to receive it. And if somebody gives you the gift of criticism or misunderstanding or attack or threat, and you refuse to receive that gift, the gift stays with them. But they're stuck with it. They have to deal with their vengeance or their venom and their upset and their anger and their irritation. And I'll give you a clue. Okay, this is a big clue. If somebody criticizes you, examine where they're coming from. What is the energy that is motivating them? Now, if they're clear and centered and honest and loving even, then it's probably a valid criticism. You might want to listen to it. However, if that person is upset or spun out or weirded out or angry, you can absolutely, without a doubt, be sure that there's some fear that is motivating them. It's their issue, not yours. Now, you might want to listen to see if there's anything in use from what they say. But for the most part, upset on the part of somebody who's criticizing you or trying to pressure you is their problem because they're in fear and pain and something is going on inside them. They need to look inside themselves and say, what is the fear that I've tapped into that is causing me to be angry or abusive to this person? And you've heard me say that hurt people, which means that healthy people don't have to hurt people because they're happy and whole. Course in Miracles says that people who know they're whole make no demands. So if somebody is demanding something from you with venom and anger or malice, they've forgotten their wholeness. They believe that they're empty or broken or needy or unfulfilled in some way. And they believe that they need to get you to live up to their expectations so they can be happy. So this has very little to do with you and a lot to do with them. So reframe an upset person as a person in pain. And if somebody came to you and they had been wounded and they were bleeding, you would treat them as a patient, not a problem. You would get them help or do what you could to help their wound. And if somebody is coming at you with anger or threat or pressure, they are psychically bleeding, that they've been wounded. And I do lots of coaching and lots of people have problems with their parents. And let's say somebody has an abusive father. And I'll ask the client, what was your father's father like? Oh, he was much worse. He really beat the hell out of my father. Well, your father's just passing along the karma of his father. And it's just a chain of karma that goes on somewhere and it has to stop somewhere. And wouldn't it be wonderful if the chain of karma stopped with you? So if you refuse to pass along the pain that this person is attempting to inflict upon you, you are a healer because you've ended that chain of karma. Now, let's explore this idea of you spotted, you got it. You spotted, you got it means that anybody who comes into your consciousness and affects you in any way is representing your own mind. So if your boss criticizes you for being an inferior worker and you get real upset about it, there's probably something in you that says, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough. And if you know you're doing a good job and you know you're whole in your expression and you know you're a wonderful person and you know you're lovable just as you are, that criticism, let's say it's valid criticism, you won't take it personally because, okay, well, let me work on this aspect. But if you get upset with it, it's because something inside you agrees with the criticism. This is this is an ironclad universal principle. You can try to skirt around it and say, well, it's his problem, not mine. But if it bugs you, you're buggable. And a lot of people go about the business of attempting to change the other person so they don't bug you anymore. That's futile because that person is inviting you to change your own mind. Course in Miracles says, seek not to change the world, but choose instead to change your mind about the world. So your boss or your mother or father or your spouse is bugging you. Every time they get to you, you say, okay, thank you. This is an opportunity for me to go in and ask, what did they touch in me that gets me so upset? Now, I used to have a coaching client whose father was very demanding and demeaning to her as a child. And nothing she ever did was enough. And she became a professional woman. She was a woman who's a professional. And she had a big business and she was quite successful. And this guy in her profession began to attack her and say that her credentials were invalid. And she came to me really spun out because, oh, this guy's going to ruin my reputation. And I worked with her and I helped her recognize that there was a part of her that believed she was not valid. She thought she was a phony. And so she created and attracted somebody out there who criticized her for being a phony, which just poked her at the deepest level of her sensitivity. And we worked together on an ongoing basis for her to recognize that she was enough. And she was a magnificent person. And she was competent. And her credentials were indeed valid. She needed to firm up her knowingness. And she actually called this man Lucifer. That was the name she gave him. And the thing came to a head when she was supposed to see him at a professional conference. And finally, she built up she didn't want to go. But I encouraged her to go and handle this. She said, I'm going. If you criticize me, so what? And she went, and he didn't even show up. And I told her that the word Lucifer, what some people call the devil, a fallen angel, the word Lucifer comes from the word lucid, which means clear. So the word Lucifer means clarifier. So somebody who challenges you and bugs you is helping you get clear on who you are and what you're here for, and most fundamentally, what is your worth. And somebody who attempts to drag you down and deny your worth is coming from their own pain. But if you don't know your worth, you're going to be bugged by them. If you know your worth, they cannot get to you. And then it turns out that this Lucifer person, when she looked into his history, he had been drummed out of the profession for his own indiscretions, and now he was on a witch hunt to take other people down with him. So he was coming from his own inferiority, his own pain, his own sorrow. It was not about her at all, unless she accepted it. And when I first met her, she accepted it. But after working with her for a while, she grew out of that sense of he can get to me by criticizing my credentials. So you've heard me say many times that every minus is half of a plus, waiting for a stroke of vertical awareness. It's negative on one level, but when you add your awareness to it, it becomes very positive. So this is why we can reframe our biggest challengers as our best friends. it would be lovely if everybody loved us and doted on us and agreed with us and carried out our wishes and told us how wonderful we were. I mean, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But it's rare that it happens. Usually there's somebody who gets to you. Or maybe, maybe you have a loving relationship with your partner, but he or she just says that one thing. They just use that tone of voice, or they say your name in a certain way, or they bug you. And it's just, it's one aspect of a better relationship, but that one aspect of the relationship just zings you like a dagger. And so they are helping you in that moment to purify your consciousness and purify your relationship, to take your relationship to a whole nother level. Now, there's another angle I want to offer you, and that's that each of us has many different versions, many different angles on who we are. And we're all wonderful in some contexts, and we're all not so wonderful in other contexts. And it depends on the version of that other person that you are seeing that determines your experience of them, and consequently how the relationship plays itself out. And so when somebody upsets you, what you're doing is you are choosing the dark version of them, the evil, we might say, version of them, when meanwhile you could just as easily, in fact, far more easily, be choosing the loving and beautiful and wonderful version of them. And so if your spouse bugs you, you might want to think, well, what is it that drew me to that person in the first place? Why did I marry him or her? Why did I get with him or her? Well, I just, when I first got with them, well, it was their wonderful stuff. And they had little quirks and stuff, and they had little nias. But so what? I love that person. And those quirks just add to their character. And you marry them, and the quirks get bigger and bigger, and that angel person gets smaller and smaller, and suddenly they become their quirks. Well, the reason is you're focusing on the quirks or the negative aspect. So if you want to revision the version of that person you're seeing, the version you see is the one you will draw forth. So if you keep doting on your partner's faults and their flaws, and why do you leave your underwear around, and why didn't you have dinner for me, and why don't you agree with me about how to raise the kids, that version is going to grow in your consciousness until you're married to a monster. If you choose instead to focus on the version that you love and the good stuff they do, and they're kind to you, and the good stuff they do with your kids, and when they do make them nicely, and even if he doesn't pick up his clothes, so maybe he does lots of other great things, he takes out the garbage and he repairs the house and he provides for you. I mean, there are many, many good things about the husband or the wife. So fascination is fertilizer, which means that you always get more of what you focus on. And so instead of trying to get rid of the person or fix them or change them, how about fixing or changing your vision and replacing the lens that you're seeing them through with a clearer lens that shows you the magnificence and their beauty? Now, there's always a caveat. This does not say that you need to stay in a relationship that is abusive or dead or purposeless. Sometimes you get into relationships for the wrong reasons and you need to get out, or sometimes you've grown and graduated from the relationship and it's time to move apart, or sometimes it just becomes so toxic that it's not healthy for either person to stay. In those situations, you do better just to, as gracefully as possible, leave. However, most of the time, the relationship can be salvaged or healed or upgraded by doing your inner work. So ask yourself, have I done all my inner work on this relationship before I'm choosing to leave? And if you've forgiven and empowered and prayed and meditated, you get it's time to leave, well, then it's time to leave. But if there's still some more you could do to connect with this person and bless them and bless yourself in the relationship and restore your original vision of how wonderful it could be to be with this person, then that's the moment of glorious golden opportunity. And I'll give you one more tip, which we will turn into a closing meditation. I've done this in my coaching room. I do a live coaching room. If you want to join me every Thursday, go to my website, alancohen.com. It's a free 1 hour event every Thursday where I do one-to-one personal coaching. And I tell lots of my clients this, so please let's do this together if you want to. Okay, so close your eyes for a moment if you would. Take a breath. And think of somebody who annoys you. And you've probably seen that person. The moment I said that, somebody's name or face came to mind. So in your mind, with your eyes closed, call that person to you and have a look at them. And you might be uncomfortable to do this, but just do your best. And as you keep looking at this person, keep breathing deeply and say a little prayer or affirmation. I want healing with this person. I do not wish to continue discord. I do not wish to keep seeing what's wrong with them. I only hurt myself by focusing on their faults. So let me take a minute now to move past that vision of limits and pain and connect with their spirit. So as if you are changing the lens of a microscope, I ask you to now look beyond their body, beyond their physical appearance, the things you like and the things you don't like. You're going deeper in now. And even look past their personality, the things you like, the things you don't like. And I invite you now to find the light within them. Every human being is an expression of God. There's a piece of God. There's an element of God that they are living and expressing. And the light within them is innocent. It is pure. Keep looking until you find even a spark, even an ember of that soul light that they are. And once you find even that spark of that ember, let it expand. Go deep into that ember, into that spark, and see them as a being of light. Be not fooled by their earthly appearance or expression. That is the most shallow layer of who we are. And see the light in their eyes. See the beauty in them, the wholeness in them, the goodness in them. It's in there, I promise you. And connect with their divine essence. And if it's somebody you married or a relationship with or had a great relationship at one time with, go back to seeing that version of them, the one you fell in love with, the one you wanted to work with. Let them become who they were and are at their best. Take a few moments to just vision and receive and enjoy that person's divine essence. And now say in your mind, the God in me knows the God in you. This is what the word namaste means. I recognize the divinity within you. The love in me knows the love in you. The spirit in me recognizes the spirit in you. Let us now emerge from our earthly cocoons of these bodies and personalities, and let us know ourselves, remember ourselves as the angels that we are. And of course, when you see their light, you see your own. You're not guilty, you're not wrong, neither of you are. You can both emerge triumphant as divine beings. So have a final moment here of vision of the two of you loving each other, supporting each other, harmonizing with each other, helping each other, making each other's lives more wonderful and beautiful. And if you're doing this with sincere intention, you will feel a huge dark burden dropping away. And you'll feel so satisfied and rewarded to come home to who you truly are and who they truly are. Thank you, God, for helping me to remember the love that I truly feel for this person and the love they truly feel for me. The only truth about our relationship is love. Everything else is detail and earthly story. And when all else disappears, all that you'll be left with is the true love that you value and you are. Just a moment, I will close this broadcast. But if you wish to stay in this space, and you can for a little while, please do. And keep going deeper in your heart to heal this relationship. Every relationship is calling for greater love and greater healing. Course in Miracles promises us that a happy outcome to all things is sure, including every relationship that we know. Thank you, God, for healing. Thank you for my brothers and sisters who support me in growth. Thank you for me supporting them in our spiritual growth. We're all coming home to who we truly are. And for that, we are deeply grateful. Thank you.